All right, friends, week 7. Today's little lecture, actually, I don't have a PowerPoint, I'm just going to speak, is about the distinction between the proposal and the defense. And I know for most of you, you're probably like, I'm not looking forward to either one of them. But it's all right. So I just kind of want to lay out for you how they are different so that hopefully it'll help you be more successful with your proposal, but then also with your defense and planning how that's going to go and what you're prepared for on that back end. So let's start with a proposal. You probably know most of what I'm about to share with you from the previous lectures, but the proposal by its very nature is formative. It's a very formative task. The idea is it's almost like you're checking in with your committee. It's let's bring the committee together virtually or face to face or whatever, and we're all going to share our thoughts. It's communal in nature, so yes, you are up there presenting, and yes, you will be sharing obviously what you have done so far and kind of reporting on your progress. But the reality is, the whole committee has a stake in what's going on. The committee wants you to be successful. I know you're probably tired of hearing me say that, but that's the desired outcome. And they want to see you do an excellent job. And something I actually haven't mentioned that I don't think students are really widely aware of, I wasn't aware of until I became a faculty member, was that, the committee members want this to be a product that they're happy to put their name to, that they're proud to put their name to, because when they sign off on it, they are literally putting their name next to yours to say, this person did well enough to be eligible and I guess, meet the qualifications to receive a master's degree. And so in some ways, we are acknowledging, yeah, we see you as suitable for this degree, which, obviously most people don't have. So in some ways, this is a reflection on us. So the committee is very, all that to say, the committee is very invested in what you're doing. But the proposal in this case, it is checking in. It is saying, okay, here's where I'm at. Here's what I have already seen. These are the foundations on what I intend to do. And then looking forward, this is the research methodology that I intend to utilize when I go to conduct this research, right? So it's laying out the plan. This is the plan. This is what I have seen. This is what other people have done. And this will be the plan moving forward as I try and establish what I'm going to do, right? So as you've seen in the lectures already, there's going to be feedback. They're going to say, hey, do this, don't do that. Have you thought about this? Could you make these changes? What have you, right? So it's going to be, as I said, a formative process. So your thesis will be different than it was prior to the proposal. And your defense is going to be very different than the proposal itself. Okay, so proposal covers chapters 1 through 3. So introduction, literature review, and methodology. And the defense will cover those 3 chapters to a lesser degree, right? So you'll go over this a little bit like that, but then you'll also spend time talking about chapters 4 and 5 in much greater detail. Actually, you won't mention chapters 4 and 5 in your proposal, but your defense will focus on these for the most part. So chapter 4 being your results, chapter 5 being your discussion, right? So you'll focus your defense on those. So chapters 1 through 3 really spend a lot of time within your proposal. And I like to tell my students, your committee will have read your thesis by that point. But when you go to propose, what I would suggest is looking at it as in, I've got 20 minutes or so to tell these people everything they need to know about this particular topic in order to be able to evaluate my research moving forward. All right, so you can almost make the assumption that your committee knows nothing about this topic, and of course they will, but assuming they know nothing, your proposal, your 20 minutes with them should be enough to get them up to speed with what they need to know on the topic, and then get them up to speed with what they need to know about your own research. Right? So that's what the proposal is. You're just laying foundational work and saying this is what's going to happen moving forward. This is the plan. And your committee is going to say, okay, well, the plan is good, or the plan needs to be changed because they'll provide that feedback. Okay. Looking ahead to the defense is much more evaluative. So formative for your proposal, evaluative for your defense. They want to see that you have done everything that you needed to do. And it's actually, I kind of like the defense because they basically, in your proposal, should have told you, hey, this is what you need to do to be successful. And the defense is basically, did you do what you were told you needed to do in order to be successful? So it's just kind of closing that loop, right? Still with the mindset of they want you to be successful. It is more evaluative. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it is an evaluative task, rather than formative that we saw in the proposal, but they do want you to be successful, right? They'll be looking for the things that they mentioned in the previous meeting to see that they've been done and done well. And more than anything, and this covers both, this actually really pertains to both, but more so the defense, is they want to see that you know this, that you have internalized. I love that word. Excuse me. Internalized what you have learned, right? Because it's easy to be able to say, oh, well, the data indicates and read word for word from your slides, but that's not learning. You haven't internalized it, or you haven't shown evidence that you've internalized it. If you can sit there and discuss it, and when they throw questions your way, if you can say, oh, well, as a matter of fact, blah, 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 and have good, intelligent responses to their questions, then that's going to be the biggest green light to your committee that you have really done good work and that you know what you're talking about and that this master's process has really developed you as an academic and as a person, as a researcher, right? So that's what you want to show them is I know this. Own what you've absorbed, and it should happen over the course of the process, but this is really where you want to showcase it, especially in the defense. I always tell my students you want it to be just a mic drop sort of moment, that when you finish talking, it's a mic drop. That's it, right? And your committee's like, oh, okay, right? Where they're just very impressed and don't really have a lot to say. As you might be able to tell, a lot of professors can talk constantly, right? I always have something to say. But just recently, in fact, last semester, I had a student who did such an excellent job with her, it was a dissertation defense, but with her defense, they looked at me for feedback. I'm like, I have nothing to say. And my colleagues are like, but Joe, you've always got something to say. I had nothing to say. She crushed it. I mean, just so well designed, so well spoken. And more than anything, as I said a second ago, she very clearly internalized what she had learned. So there was no question of, oh, well, was there growth with this? Did you really absorb what you were examining? Hands down. She clearly absorbed, and she stood there as the expert in the room. I mean, she had done an excellent job. And that's what I'm really looking forward to with you, with both the proposal and the defense on both ends. So just kind of keep that in mind as you move forward and kind of plan accordingly. The defense, people get really nervous about the proposal because it's the first time they've really met with their committee as a group. But proposal's not something to get really nervous about. If you want to get nervous about the defense. But by that point, you should be such an expert that you're just talking about something you know well already. Okay? So just as I said, I wanted to lay those two out for you, especially now as you're beginning to transition from 6324 into 6199 and from the proposal stage to the defense stage. As you move this way, just kind of keep this in mind of what's expected of you with regard to the proposal, and then ultimately what will be expected of you with regard to your thesis defense.